Stopping by woods on a snowy evening, coming up for discussion today.
This one had me. Robert Frost, man, he gets me.
Hopefully it wasn't about death. Hopefully that's kind of a surprising angle. I don't mean to be that dramatic, but here when we record, I guess I have to do something provocative to make people interested.
This poem is so cool because the way it's structured. I'll be honest, after I read it like 4 times, I had to look up how this one flowed because it was throwing me through a loop. And I thoroughly enjoyed it of how much it made me think. And like poetry, you have to give it a chance, but you also have to read it at the right time of your life. And I've always said that many times, but I really enjoyed this poem.
What drew you to it? Like what were the themes that like made you interested out of curiosity?
Well, the first thing that drew it to me was my confusion. I like learning. I like getting past things that I don't understand. I didn't understand the rhyming structure of it because I kept thinking to myself, why is this not rhyming, the third line? And then I had to look it up and I was like, oh, so I went back and read it. And as you go through, the third line always rhymes to the next stanza. And I just like, that is so cool. Just like that. I don't know if I've ever read a poem like that before. So it was very unique. That was the first thing that drew me in.
Oh, interesting. So, because some people obviously are more drawn to structure and form, nothing wrong with that. And some people are more drawn to the meaning. Traditionally, you and I have been more on the meaning side. I love that you have been drawn in more on the form and like kind of like structure side. Now with that said, very simple, 4 stanzas, right? Like we're talking about quatrains here. But I think I want to know more about what you found was interesting. So if we read this and go step through it instead of doing the full reading, we'll just step through it like stanza by stanza, if that's okay with you. And maybe just kind of get those reactions and what you're thinking about each of those. I thought might be a good way to explore this because each stanza I felt kind of unlocked or challenged me to think further about the themes that I was thinking of. And I'm curious if that's going to be the same for you.
Each stanza does feel like its own unique theme that building upon one another. So yeah, this will be a good exercise. Let's do it.
So it opens up the first little stanza here. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. Okay, so initial reaction, I guess, with whatever themes you're thinking of, tell me what this one means.
This one was about the beauty of nature, and I can just imagine this. I like the mountains, and I like the countryside. It's where I want to spend the rest of my days. I get it. I was just sitting on the rocking chair on my stoop, like in the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina, just looking out, maybe the snow, looking at someone else's walkway. This spoke to the nature lover in me.
Okay, so it feels like you got a little bit of like romanticism. The imagery kind of spoke to you. What spoke to me was when we talk about his house is in the village, though. So the man's not here, but we're seeing this land. And it says, he will not see me stopping here. And I thought that was interesting because that evokes this feeling of forbidden or unknown esoteric knowledge that I'm gaining where I know something that you don't know, right? And I also had this feeling almost because we just finished reading one of the chapters in Ulysses about sirens, the sirens like that sing the song that pull you in. It's that exact imagery, the beauty that is for some reason pulling the speaker in, right? And snow to me typically can be new beginnings, rebirth. It's a version of water in a sense of becoming, cleansed and stuff like that. But that was just my initial reaction is like, you see a painting and there's some that you can just walk right by, right? Like how many times you drive down the highway, you pass tons of homes and don't stop to look at it. But there's something about this one that like is the siren pull that he stops to kind of contemplate it, if that makes sense. Like that was how I felt about this first stanza.
There is a air of mystery to why he is lured in, as you said. There's also, I feel like, a beauty in the stillness of this, and there is this purity to white snow. Like if you've ever been, you wake up in the morning and nobody's been out and about, and the snow is undisturbed. There is something very just wow about that factor of just seeing all the snow undisturbed in this perfectness. And that's what I kind of imagined when I was going through this first stanza.
Okay. Yeah, it reminds me, we have never talked about it, but there's like this Japanese phrase, mono no aware, like the awareness of the impermanence of things, of like the temporary or the beauty of the moment. We can go more into that, but not where I was headed for today. But let's talk about stanza 2 here real quick. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. Hit me with this one.
Death.
Wait, really? Like, I thought I was being original. You okay?
No. Yeah. Sleep, I felt like was the eternal sleep, the slumber, the end. This one definitely felt, I don't know if there's a choice in the death or not, or if it's unexpected. That's where I kind of got lost a little bit.
So here's my take on it. I guess I didn't immediately think of death yet. To me, it's like the horse must think it queer, like strange, right? To stop without a farmhouse near, right? So normally the horse is this creature of nature, a creature of habit, even like a creature of function. You train the horse to do certain things. It normally goes from farmhouse to here. Like you're delivering goods, you're stopping by to drop something off at the neighbor. Why are we stopping in the middle of nowhere? Like this isn't what I'm trained to do. Like I have a purpose. I have something to do, in the same way that, like, I think a lot of people interpret that is that this man is pausing his daily duties to observe something beautiful, right? Like there's nothing wrong with that interpretation. But I also think that sometimes we have this stigma that animals might see more or have senses more into things that we don't see, right? Like, oh, dogs can sense evil. They can sense Terminators that are going to kill us, as opposed to us. like we think of animals having, and it's interesting that the animal is almost detecting something strange about this area too, or at least why we would stop in this area. But also I want to point out, it says the darkest evening of the year. When you hear that line, what is your assumption?
This is where I kind of got the death from. I incorporated that with they're not finishing the journey, that the journey is ending at home and they don't get to complete that journey. So that's the end, and it's at the darkest night. So that's death. That's kind of how I mixed it together.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was okay. I guess I thought someone who might be more optimistic than us might read that and think, oh, winter solstice, right? Like it gets dark earliest. Like maybe this is the rebirth, kind of like the first stanza we had, rebirth with the snow and new beginnings. The darkest night just means you have more light ahead of you, right? Like after tonight, it gets brighter earlier and earlier. I guess there's an optimistic way that apparently we didn't take it. I was hoping to kind of maybe shock someone that was thinking that way of like, oh, well, darkest night could also be we die. Like this is literally the shortest day that's ever happened to us because we die earlier than expected is kind of what I was hoping to maybe surprise a few people with.
Yeah. Not surprising me, but maybe someone else.
Okay, so stanza 3, right? He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only others sound the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. What's this one mean to you?
This really kind of swept me into the idea of isolationism, that he's all alone on this journey, and being that I kind of had death in my mind at this time, it felt like death is a journey that you have to go by yourself. It's you come into this world alone and you go out of this world alone. And that's what it kind of felt like to me.
Okay. My first impression, a lot of S's, like 14 S's just in these 4 lines, if I counted correctly here. And the S that comes to mind is silence, right? We break the silence with this bell here. And I don't think it's meant to be like, angel, every time a bell rings, angel gets his wings, like nothing like that. But it's like there's a crossing over element to me. That to me, this is when the speaker passed over. He passed on. And that's what breaks this reality for him to finally cross over into this next world. Almost like in this, like when we read the Of Easy Wind and Downy Flake, it has this like dreamlike feel to it of him passing on from his daily duties, which he still feels obligated to complete. Like we always wanted to do that one more thing before passing on. And this guy didn't have the time for it. Like he passes on in this moment, essentially, is kind of how my mind took it, at least.
Maybe that's one of the points of the poem that I took away was all of our lives, we have this sense of duty and responsibilities, and you never know when yours are going to end. So maybe that shouldn't be the focus of our lives. There are more important things out there.
Now, when we look at the last stanza here, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Is that what you're thinking of? Like those are the kind of like the obligations. Like I have promises to keep. Like those are the obligations that we make every day and intend to complete, but sometimes you're not able to do everything.
Yeah, you have your responsibility to your family, you have responsibility to your job, you have responsibility to your church, you have responsibility to yourself. There's a lot in there, and you only have so much time, right? We only get so many hours in a day and so many years on this planet, and what are you going to do with that journey before you take that eternal sleep?
I didn't look up anything about this poem, I gotta be honest. Is the death interpretation common? I thought I was being a lot more original, but you were right there with me.
I think it could be. It definitely feels in that venue. I think that somebody else can definitely take a more positive outlook than we did on this, for sure. The only thing I looked up again was the rhyming convention kind of threw me off because I was like, why isn't this word rhyming with all the rest? And then I realized that it was done that way on purpose to make this kind of natural flow from stanza to stanza to stanza. So yeah, I don't know if the death interpretation is common or just you and I are morbid.
All right, so let's pose the opposite question, right? Like let's think outside the box. Let's throw that one out the door. Okay, like death is off the table. Let's just view it kind of like, remember we just read a couple weeks ago, not that we had never read it before, but the path less taken, right? Path not taken. I always want to say it's less. In that one, he's kind of A-Bing the options, even though they're about the same. We had an argument or discussion about, we aggrandize our choices because it's like a self-righteous drive that we have, right? To prove that we're right and to maybe even convince others that we're right, right? The last one of this one is he has promises to keep, right? And miles to go before I sleep. And he repeats it twice, right? Why repeat it twice? If is he trying to convince himself that there's a purpose or reason to keep moving forward for? Is he just so busy? That's what his focus is. Like, why do you think a speaker who's contemplating looking at beauty as opposed to, I didn't mean to rhyme here, but attending his duty, his obligations. Why do you think he reiterates this last line twice? Who's he trying to convince?
I think he's trying to convince himself that life is fleeting. However, to get away from that, there are obligations in life, and those are important because people are important to their families, and he needs to complete this journey to uphold those obligations to his family because it is important to them.
All right, so there we go. Another Bobby Frost talk in the books. Let us know what you guys think of this one. Did you go down the morbid route, or is it more on the responsibility, or a totally different take? Let us know down below. Thank you for spending time with us today. My name has been Una. Thank you for spending time with us. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that. Peace.
Thanks for spending time with us. Peace.
Well, I had to repeat it like the poem, man.